Hey, Shalom. I like to give all praises, glory, and honors to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakwadash. I like to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace, salutations, and blessings to the elect who firmly believe in Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai. Now, the title of this lesson is going to be, if if you want spiritual gifts, you're going to have to go through some, you know what I mean? You can fill in that blank. And one thing about the Lord, when we desire knowledge, when we desire wisdom, when we desire understanding, faith, discernment, the Lord is going to have to put us through certain situations in order for us to obtain those spiritual gifts. And majority of the time, it comes in a form of tribulation, or it comes in a form of a hard decision one has to make. And by the end of it all, that's when you know and understand the spiritual gift was imparted unto you based upon how the other people receive it. Right? So I just want to start off with the account with King Solomon in the book of Kings. It's the book of First Kings, chapter 3. I'm going to start at verse 1. And Solomon made affinity with Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and took Pharaoh's daughter and brought her into the city of David until he had made an end of building his own house, and the house of the Lord, and the wall of Jerusalem round about. Only the people sacrificed in high places, because there was no house built unto the name of Yahweh until those days. And Solomon loved Yahweh, walking in the statutes of David his father. Only he sacrificed and burnt incense in high places. And the king went to Gibeon to sacrifice there, for that was the great high place. A thousand burnt offerings did Solomon offer upon that altar. It says, in Gibeon, Yahweh appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and Yahweh said, ask what I shall give thee. And Solomon said, thou hast. So King Solomon, he pretty much had a vision. Here it is. He was asleep on his bed. And, one would call it a dream, but he had a vision. And the Heavenly Father came unto him. And he pretty much asked him, what would you like to receive, from me? And Solomon said, thou hast showed unto thy servant David, my father, great mercy, according as he walked before thee in truth and in righteousness and in uprightness of heart with thee. And thou hast kept for him this great kindness, that thou hast given him a son to sit on his throne as it is this day. And now, O Yahweh, my power, thou hast made thy servant king instead of David, my father. And I am but a little child. I know not how to go out or come in. So here it is. King Solomon, he's actually, being humble. He's being humble before the Lord, like, and saying, like, look, I don't know everything. Hell, I pretty much don't know anything. He's pretty much saying, I am but a little child. I know not how to go out or to come in. So he's asking the Lord for guidance. And that's the most important. That's one of the most important things we can ask the Lord, being in his truth, is having guidance, because sometimes we don't know nor understand what move we should make in a certain position that we're in. Reading the scriptures is one thing. However, exercising the discernment, making those calls at the drop of a dime is another. It says, verse 8, it says, and thy servant is in the midst of thy people, which thou hast chosen, a great people, that cannot be numbered nor counted for multitude. Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart, which is your mind, to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this, thy so great a people? When you look up that word discernment, it means to cut, right? Discernment means to cut, to separate, So in order to determine what's good and what's bad, you got to separate one from the other, or you got to cut one from the other, and that's what the Heavenly Father is doing by way of this truth. The Lord is using this truth as a tool to discern who's good, who's bad, who's righteous, who's wicked, who's the elect, who's the 2/3, right? Verse 10, and the speech pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this thing. And Yahweh said unto him, because thou hast asked this thing, and look, and it says, and the Lord was pleased, because that was a spiritual gift. He didn't ask for more money. He didn't ask for more women. He didn't ask for anything carnal. He wanted the understanding to rule the people righteously, that's pleasing in the eyesight of the Lord. It says, and Yahweh said unto him, because thou hast asked this thing, and hast not asked for thyself long life, neither hast asked riches for thyself, nor hast asked the life of thine enemies, but hast asked for thyself understanding to discern judgment. Behold, I have done according to thy words. Lo, I have given thee a wise and an understanding heart, so that there was none like thee before thee, neither after thee shall any arise like unto thee. And that's how we also know that, Yahweh Shai was King Solomon, right? Just, spiritually. But you see, the Lord already parted that into him. However, it had to be activated. Just like the Lord imparted to us some spiritual gifts that we may not even know that we have at the moment, but it's going to come out when it's supposed to come out. A lot of times, we be out there on the highways and byways. We may not even know that we possess certain spiritual gifts, but the way we may break down the scriptures, the way we may edify, the way we may add to a brother, that's the Lord pulling it out, and one gets edified and they see the truth for what it is and not for how they want it to be. Right? So that's what happened in the case of King Solomon. The Lord gave him that wisdom, that great wisdom. I believe the Queen of Sheba traveled from afar just to hear the wisdom of King Solomon. Right? That's how powerful and wise he was and still is. Verse 13, it says, and I have also given thee that which thou hast not asked, both riches and honor. So just for him asking for riches, just for him asking for understanding, the Lord said, you know what? I'm going to bless you with the riches and the wealth as well. I'm going to bless you with honor and respect as well. Everything's going to come with it. So that's why when the scriptures tell us, seek ye the kingdom and everything else shall be added unto you, that's what the Lord means. Seek the kingdom, which is what? Understanding, truth, righteousness, perfection, faith. Of course we want women. Of course we want the wealth. Of course we want all of these carnal things. But the Lord said that comes with it. Focus on what matters. You know what I mean? Focus on what matters. It says, so that there shall not be any among the kings like unto thee all thy days. And if thou wilt walk, so what? He was put on that pedestal. Yahweh put King Solomon on that pedestal, man. No other king is likened unto him. That's why when it comes to Yahweh Shai, he's the King of Kings, Lord of Lords. That's how we also know and understand that they're the same person when it comes to reincarnation. It says, so that there shall not be any among the kings like unto thee all thy days. Right? It says, and if thou wilt walk in my ways to keep my statutes and my commandments, as thy father David did walk, then I will lengthen thy days. And Solomon, and that's why it's important to keep the long statutes, commandments, to the best of our ability, of course. We can't be perfect in this society. But it says, verse 15, and Solomon awoke, and behold, it was a dream. And he came to Jerusalem and stood before the ark of the covenant of Yahweh, and offered up burnt offerings and offered peace offerings, and made a feast to all his servants. Then came there 2 women that were harlots unto the king, and stood before him. And the one woman said, O my Lord, I and this woman dwell in one house, and I was delivered of a child with her in the house. So now King Solomon is put in a situation like right after. Well, it seems as though it's like right after he woke up from this dream. So I'm gonna read 16. It says, then came there 2 women that were harlots, so what? They were prostitutes, unto the king, and stood before him. And the one woman said, O my Lord, I and this woman dwell in one house, and I was delivered of a child with her in the house. So they're living in a house. One had a baby. And it came to pass the 3rd day after that I was delivered, that this woman was delivered also. So another woman had a baby, right? I believe 3 days apart, right? It says, and we were together. There was no stranger with us in the house, save we 2 in the house. So they were the only 2 ones in the house, right? And this woman's child died in the night because she overlaid it. So she pretty much, what I'm getting from it, she smothered the child. She probably fell asleep on the child, suffocated the child. It says, and she arose at midnight and took my son from beside me, while thine handmaid slept, and laid it in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. Right? So she switched the babies. It says, and when I arose in the morning to give my child suck, behold, it was dead. But when I had considered in the morning, behold, it was not my son, which I did bear. Okay, because a mother knows her child. It says, and the other woman said, nay, but the living is my son, and the dead is thy son. And this said, no, but the dead is thy son, and the living is my son. Thus they spake before the king. So they're arguing back and forth who belongs to what, right? Or who belongs to who. Then said the king, the one saith, this is my son that liveth, and thy son is dead. And the other saith, nay, but thy son is the dead, and my son is the living. And the king said, bring me a sword. It's funny how he says a sword, because what we said discern means to cut or to separate. And that's how you bring forth understanding, by separating, right? So it says, and the king said, bring me a sword. And they brought a sword before the king. And the king said, divide the living child in two and give half to the one and half to the other. So pretty much kill the baby, right? Just slaughter the baby, right? Then spake the woman whose the living child was unto the king, for her bowels yearned upon her son. And she said, O my lord, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. But the other said, let it be neither mine nor thine, but divided. So in that moment there, that's when King Solomon knew, right, who the baby belonged to, because, well, it's going to get into it. It said, then the king answered and said, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. She is the mother thereof. Why? Because she was attached to the baby, spiritually and emotionally, you know what I'm saying? And she didn't want the baby to die. So she would rather have the baby still live, but just be in the arms of another woman, as opposed to just dying. As opposed to the other woman who said, okay, well, divide the baby. She didn't have an emotional attachment because she didn't deliver the baby. And misery loved company. So she knew and understood she had a dead baby. So, oh well, she could have a dead baby too. So in that moment, King Solomon knew, all right, yeah, this is who the baby belongs to, right? And all Israel heard of the judgment which the king had judged, and they feared the king, for they saw that the wisdom of Yahweh was in him to do judgment. And that's how, strong and beautiful Israel was, because they can see judgment, being exercised in the land by the king. But when it comes to us being out there on the highways and byways, and the wisdom that we pour out through the wisdom and power, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, they want to curse at us. That's how we know these curses is on these niggas, right? They ungrateful, man. They ungrateful. Continuing on, so that was an account that proves you have to go through some shit in order to receive spiritual gifts, man. Right? It says Acts chapter 14, verse 22, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that we must, through much tribulation, enter into the kingdom of Yahweh. So what's the ultimate spiritual gift? The kingdom. But the Lord said we got to go through much tribulation in order to receive that. We got to go through much tribulation in order to receive the kingdom. So we got to go through some shit, man. That's just the way this thing works. The Lord is not going to give us anything for free. We got to pay it. We got to pay it with our lives in certain instances. You know what I'm saying? We got to pay it with our time. We got to give our bodies as a living sacrifice. Let me bring that out. This is Romans chapter 12 and verse 1. It says, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Yahweh, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto Yahweh, which is your reasonable service. You know what I'm saying? So we got to present our bodies as a living sacrifice. It says, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what that good and acceptable and perfect will of Yahweh. So we got to present our bodies as a living sacrifice in order to even receive mercies from the Heavenly Father. That's how this thing works, man. That's how this thing works. I believe it was that 12 and 6. 12. Or is it 2 Corinthians? Second Corinthians. Where is that at? Peaceable fruit. Hebrews, Salakia. This is a Hebrews chapter 12. I'm going to start at verse 6. It says, for whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. That's right. So who the Lord loves, he's going to chastise. He's going to go through some shit. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be punished in a way, right? It says, if ye endure chastening, Yahweh dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? It says, but if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons. So you want to be, you know, happy in a sense. As crazy it may sound, you want to be happy that you catching hell sometimes. Of course, the Lord isn't going to put on more than we could bear, because it's about, staying in His truth, right? There's a time and season for every purpose under the heaven, but the Lord has to build you up. Just like boxing, when you first turn pro, your promoter will build you up level after level after level before you get to a championship bout. He'll see that you're ready for a championship bout. So the same way with the Lord has to build us up with certain chastisements, certain tribulations, up until that point of the hour of temptation. That's going to be the ultimate, chastisement or test rather. And it reads, but if you be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons. It says, furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall we not much rather be in subject unto the Father of spirits and live? Of course, right? It says, for they verily for a few days chasten us after their own pleasure, but he for our profit. That's what we got to understand. When we're going through hell, it's ultimately for our profit, because something good is going to come out of it. You know what I'm saying? Something good is going to come out of it, that we might be partakers of his holiness. It says, now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. That's right. So you may be catching hell from your woman, your job, car trouble, whatever, financial trouble, whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? But after it all, you're supposed to gain wisdom from it. Like DMX said in a song one time, to live is to suffer, to survive is to find the meaning within that suffering. So to find the meaning within the suffering is the spiritual gift that you want to obtain, whether it be knowledge, wisdom, understanding, spiritual discernment, and faith. But it says, afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness. So that's that spiritual gift unto them which are exercised thereby. So it's about being exercised thereby, And that's one thing the Lord is going to allow us to receive is, repetition, when it comes to this word, when it comes to this word, when it comes to tribulation. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3. It's Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3. I'm going to start at verse 1. It says, but the souls of the righteous are in the hand of Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, and there shall no torment touch them. Those missiles. In the sight of the unwise, they seem to die, and their departure is taken for misery, and their going from us to be utter destruction. But they are in peace. That's right, we are in peace. Why? Because we know the Lord's agenda. We know what's coming after this bullshit. It says, for they be punished in the sight of men, yet is their hope full of immortality. And having been a little chastised, they shall be greatly rewarded. For Yahweh Bashem Yahushai proved them and found them worthy for himself. That's right. So what? In order to receive spiritual gifts, we got to go through some shit. You know what I mean? It says it right here. That's the exchange. As gold in the furnace have he tried them, and received them as a burnt offering. And in the time of their visitation, they shall shine and run to and fro like sparks among the stubble. They shall judge the nations and have dominion over the people, and their Lord shall reign forever. They that put their trust in him shall understand the truth, and such as be faithful in love shall abide with him. For grace and mercy is to his saints. He have care for his elect. That's what it's about. It's about the elect, man. Those who sigh and cry for the abominations that be though for those who sigh and cry for the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. Salakia. It says, but the ungodly shall be punished according to their own imaginations, which have neglected the righteous and forsaken the Lord. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. We got to go through some things in order to receive the kingdom. You know what I'm saying? Consider not strange the fiery trials which are to try you, because the Lord is ultimately doing it for a purpose. That's what we got to understand. So, with that, I like to give all praises, glory, and honors to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Kakwadash. I like to give double honors to the apostles, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace, salutation, and blessings to the elect. Shalom.